All right, so I'm here with Elliot, MovieFiles, talking 2023, 2022, all that good stuff. So if you want to introduce yourself to everybody, go ahead.
Yeah, man. Well, hey, man. First and foremost, man, thank you for having me on. Been a big fan of your content for last like 4 or 5 months, man. I know you covered Atlanta, which is one of my favorite shows, and you cover a lot of horror content, which horror is my favorite genre. So it's awesome to be here, man. I'm excited to talk 2023. It is upon us, man. It came up on us like out of nowhere, man. But we are here.
I agree. Same thing. Been following you since Atlanta season 3, checking out your content too. There's a lot to talk about Atlanta, especially all the theories and everything. So it was
Yeah,
good
man.
checking up your lives and everything after shows, all that, which you do a good job on, especially
Okay.
White Lotus season 2 as well.
That's my show, man. It's my jam. HBO never fails. Love me some White Lotus.
I agree. I agree. So yeah, today we're just looking back at 2022, some of the gems we liked, all of that. Especially big year 2022.
Yeah.
So many good stuff. So like, I think everybody was like hesitant how the movie industry was going to look, especially in 2020.
Right. Right.
But
Right.
I think 2022 really came around and showed us that no, it's not stopping anytime soon.
Yeah, no, I mean 2020 obviously just a horrible year for the entire world, but in particularly in Hollywood. Yeah, definitely you know, derailed a lot of movies, TV shows, delays, productions being backed up, visual effects being backed up. So 2021 was definitely kind of the launching pad to kind of get back to some type of normalcy. But this year, definitely we were, or I should say last year, 2022, definitely got back into gear. And yeah, man, I think this year probably is up there for me in the last like 5 or 6 years, as far as like 2019 and this year.
Yeah.
Where 2022 is very similar in regards to just like everywhere, everything, everywhere, all at once. Kind of has that Parasite following, where it's just like a great film that came out early in the year and continues to have momentum throughout the year. And we got some good blockbusters, Top Gun Maverick. We got the Batman. So yes, and then horror. Being a horror fan, this was
Mhm.
2022 was a great year for horror. So yeah, all in all, man, 2022 delivered for me in a lot of aspects.
Yeah, I agree. Everything All at Once really kicked off 2022 hard, I
Hmm.
feel. And like you said, Top Gun, I think really like just solidified 2022 right in
Yeah,
the
man.
middle of it.
Yep. Yep. And then of course you in the year with something as big as Avatar, which just keeps climbing in the box office and just continues to show us that James Cameron is not a fluke. He is the king of blockbusters. So yeah, it's been a great year. Or I keep saying great year. It's been last year was a great
Yeah.
year. We're in 2023 now, but last year was a great year.
Yeah, Avatar's run is just crazy, especially coming in late at the year, like last week of the year, and it just
Hmm.
I just saw it's like at 1.3 billion already.
Crazy, man. I
Insane.
think the weekend drop from the second to the third was 0%, which is like unheard of for especially for blockbusters. So yeah, James Cameron has another hit on his hands, and we can expect 3, 4, 5, and maybe 6 and 7 down the road, which I'm here for because I love Pandora and I love that world.
Yeah, I agree. It's just insane to think where he's gonna take it visually with the next one because he just keeps on topping himself.
Hmm.
So I'm excited for that as well.
Yeah, man.
Okay, so let's get into top 3 horror movies for you. What do you think?
Man,
2022.
top three. That's a tough one because, like I said, it was a really, really solid year. I'm a big slasher fan, so whether it was Scream or X, they came to deliver. Pearl, which I enjoyed the performances from that, more particularly from Mia Goth. But as far as top three, I gotta go. Number three for me is probably the Black Phone, man.
Oh,
Scott Derrickson for me is just such a fantastic director in general, but as far as horror goes, with Sinister and the Exorcism of Emily. He just knows how to create tension, but he also knows how to tell a good story. He doesn't always rely on tropes. He doesn't rely on jump scares. Doesn't rely on gore. He just relies on visual tension and characters. And I thought that for the Black Phone, we got not only a great story, but two of some of the best like child acting I've seen in a
yeah.
very long time. I'll probably think the last time I got and this is obviously like small independent horror films that has some good kid acting, but as far as on a
Mhm.
bigger budget, probably It Chapter One as far as that group of kids. But the two, Finney and his little sister Gwen, they were just fantastic. And seeing Finney fight for himself and the whole supernatural ghost element, man, that was definitely a top notch for me, man. Were you a fan of Black Phone?
Yeah, I was a big fan of Black Phone. I've been wanting to see Scott Derrickson go back to horror for a bit. He was doing all things with Marvel, all that,
Right, right.
and Exorcism and Emily Rose, I think, is like very underrated
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
when it comes to like exorcism films and horror in general.
Yeah.
And Black Phone, I was expecting it to be good, but I found myself loving it a lot,
Mhm,
honestly.
mhm. No,
And
it's
just
it's it's fantastic, man. And the collaboration he has with my man Ethan Hawke now, 2 for 2 with working with him on Sinister and now with this one. So I'm very excited to see them work together again, hopefully in the future. But this one was a home run for me, man.
yeah, I agree. Ethan Hawke, like, didn't have as much, screen time when you go back to look at it,
Mhm,
but, like,
mhm.
anytime he was on the screen, just took over, like,
Right.
the scene and just a very, like, scary performance from him,
Yeah.
honestly.
And those masks were incredible. Shout out to this to the costuming and the production of that mask was definitely, and it was, creepy throughout the entire duration of the film. But yeah, he was great. That was my number three. And then number two is kind of, I guess it falls in line with horror in my eyes because I marked it as horror when I did my rankings last week. But I had Prey at number two, man.
Mhm.
It's a franchise that I think is a bit overrated in regards to it has like to me just one great film in the first 1987 or 86 Predator, and then the other sequels were fine. I'm more of a fan of out of all the sequels. I really enjoyed the one with Adrian Brody. That one
Yeah,
to me was a pretty legit sequel, but everything else is pretty bad for me. But this one, Dan Trachtenberg and his collaboration with Amber Midthumber was this fantastic, man, and brought it back to the roots. It brought it back to
yeah,
survival and hand-to-hand combat and strategizing and just feeling for the characters and rooting for the characters, and then going to the horror elements. It was very brutal, very gruesome, which I love, man. The Predator was a force of nature. So it's not the traditional horror of like a Black Phone or, my number one or Smile, but it definitely has those moments where you just like put yourself in that position. That would be pretty scary to go toe to toe against an alien like Predator. So I got it for number two is Prey.
yeah, Prey really, came through. When I first heard about it, I remember I was just like, I don't know how to feel about it," but
Right, right.
once I saw that first teaser and trailer and just reading more about it, I got excited, and I agree, it did take it back to its roots.
Hmm.
Um, I thought the last Predator movie, I think it's like 2018, was like
Oh,
okay,
Shane
but
Black's Predator. Oh, I
yeah,
hated
but
that one.
it is a letdown. Like I had expectations high for that,
Yeah.
and I was just like, nah, this is not it. But
Yeah.
I'm excited with what they did with Prey, though, for sure.
Yeah,
I
man, it
agree.
opens up the door for maybe other cultures and other times, going to samurais fighting against a predator or, Africans going against predators. So
Yeah.
I mean, the door is wide open. So I would love that. I do wish if there is one regret, I wish I could have saw it in theaters because it was only
Oh
available.
yeah.
Well, not only available, they had like a limited release in theaters, but not everywhere. So I wish I would have saw that in theater. That would have been a theatrical experience. Probably one of my favorites if I would have got that opportunity. But neither here nor there. Saw it at home, and the story carried through. Big screen, little screen. I still love the experience and the visceralness of the Predator. So I thought it was great, man. But that comes number two to my number one, which was Fresh from another Hulu
Oh yeah.
original. Hulu definitely kind of sneaks in every couple years with these great films, and Fresh was my favorite of the year, with Daisy. Edgar Jones and Sebastian Stan, man. It was the one film that just shocked the hell out of me, just from starting off as this small, quiet, rom-com of
Yeah.
a young lady in her early 20s, mid 20s, on the dating scene and dealing with all that stuff, comes across what seamlessly seems like a perfect match for her. And the doctor, good looking gentleman, it seems to have a good head on the shoulder. And, not spoiling it for anyone that hasn't seen it, but then we get that twist,
Yeah.
25, 30 minutes in, we get the title card. And it's like, what is going on? And then from there, it gets straight into horror. And again, I don't want to spoil anything for people, but if you see the poster, you see the title of it, you can put two and two together, especially if you've seen, I'll just give a hint to Bones and All. It kind of ties into that
Yeah.
type of genre with body horror. But that was just fantastic, man. Not only did it just kick my ass in that first half and switching gears in the tone and the genre, but just actually the whole story, and again performances and rooting for this character and the callbacks and the stuff that happens towards the end. It was awesome. I love that film.
No, I agree. And I almost like forgot that Fresh even came out in 2022 because it came out so
So
early.
early, yeah, yeah,
So when I was like going back and looking at all the movies, trying to like figure out some lists and stuff, I was surprised with it, but I did enjoy it a lot.
yeah.
Definitely that twist, especially going in not knowing anything about it,
Mhm,
just
mhm.
seeing everybody talking about it online, then just when it happens, it just hits you.
Yep,
Yeah, but
loved it, man.
I did too as well. And Hulu did come with some surprises this year.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, man, Hulu, people were a little bit nervous with the acquisition of Disney, but they're, quietly doing their thing on their platform, and I hope Disney allows them to continue to have these type of films like a Fresh, like a Prey, and they also have some really good shows too. So yeah,
Sure.
Hulu's quietly building a nice little resume and becoming one of my favorite streamers behind, like an Apple or a HBO Max or a Netflix. But yeah, Hulu comes through, man. They come through in the clutch.
Yeah, I like this year for sure. Hulu went to the top of my streamers, especially with like how some of the other streamers treat shows or movies and things like that.
Mhm.
Hulu's definitely been making some good choices, I think.
Yeah, man, 100% agree. 100% agree. But that's my top three, man. What do you got? What's your three looking like? Your big three.
My top three definitely hard. It was a hard year, like you said, a lot of good horror movies. It was hard to choose, and I just went like on which ones I was like, I could definitely see this again, or I enjoyed aspects of it. Uh, Number three, I had X. Uh,
That was my
that
number
was
four.
Yeah, that one was definitely one that right at the beginning of the year, I think came out like in
Hmm.
March,
Hmm.
and I just enjoyed it. Ty West coming back to do a movie, that was like a big thing. I enjoyed uh, one of his first movies, House of the Devil,
Yeah, yeah, yep.
and then I think he went on did a lot of TV stuff for a couple of years.
Hmm.
So when I heard he was coming back, I got excited for it, and then
Yeah.
the cast was interesting as well. I was
Hmm.
like when I saw Kid Cudi in there,
Kid
I'm like,
Cudi,
oh
Brittany Snow,
yeah, Jenna
Jenna
Ortega.
Ortega. Yep.
Like I was just like, all right, I gotta go see this cast alone,
Right.
and I was just floored by like all of the performances in it,
Hmm.
um, twists and turns happening throughout as well, and then learning about Mia Goth actually playing the old woman in that right
Oh,
after
yeah.
watching it.
Hmm.
So I enjoyed it. Just a fun slasher. Just going into it, fun cast, fun everything about it. And then after credits in that movie was the Pearl trailer. So
So great.
yeah,
Apparently, some people didn't get that, or they didn't wait to the. Well, I mean, you wouldn't expect
yeah.
the post credit scene in a horror film, but yeah, some people either didn't get it in the theater or they didn't even know about it. But I always sit through credits, and I was like, "Oh, is this real? Is this for real?" But yeah,
Yeah, nowadays after Marvel, it's like I'm always like
right,
looking up every movie,
trained.
like,
Yeah.
does this have a post-credit scene?
After
And
you
that
watch A24, The Well, like, oh, is there a post credit scene of this? Yeah.
so that's what I did with X. I looked up, is there a post-credit scene after X? Because I was like, well, you never
Hmm.
know.
Right.
And that's where I saw, so that's how. But yeah, a lot of people didn't get it. Actually, I saw a lot of people commenting on my videos for it that nothing played for them.
Right.
Um, and but yeah, X, really fun horror movie, slasher, all of that, and
Love it.
I think it's like crazy to think like it was like $1 million budget on it.
Yeah, super super low budget, and you can tell that too. Not that it's a bad thing; they just use, and that's what I love about horror in general. They use the best of what they got, and it to me allows the creators to be a little bit more creative and not rely on having this big budget and having we'll clean it up in posts or we'll
Yeah,
add this at post. They got to get creative, on the set.
yeah, I agree. But yeah, that was my number three. Number two, this one's always like a hit or miss when I say it with people, but I like Barbarian a lot.
Barbarian's a lot of fun, man.
Yeah,
I'll let you, obviously I'll let you, tell your thoughts on it. I watched it a couple weeks ago and it didn't lower too much, but it didn't hit me as much as I did on rewatch. But yeah, go ahead. Let us know why you're number two.
yeah. So Barbarian, going into this movie when I first heard about it,
Hmm.
I didn't have any expectations for it. I saw the
Hmm.
trailer in theaters. I wasn't that interested in it there, so I don't know if it was just me going in with like no expectations at all. Like the bar was low, but it kept surprising me. Like seeing the trailer, you think it's going to be something, and then you go see it, and it just
Hmm.
quickly turns on you. the first act I think was definitely the strongest part of it, the tension
100% agree.
building, all of that.
Yep. Yep.
And I could see at the turn and midway through the movie, not spoiling anything, like I know that's where a lot of people got like it lost them in that part.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then the third final part of the movie, that final act is definitely I see how it's like a part where it like can lose people a lot, where it just completely turns into something else.
Right.
But I think just to me overall, I just enjoyed it. It was like wacky and fun horror,
Yeah.
and that's why it went number two for me.
Yeah, no, hey, I respect it, man. Like you said, I think the first, like literally, if the first half would have continued on through Act Two, Act Three, it probably would have been my number one because it was just so great at building tension, inverting your expectations with thinking the traditional Bill Skarsgård was going to probably be the villain or
Yeah,
whatnot, but obviously it played much different in that stereotype, and then obviously being shocked by the creature monster situation going on in the basement, but then yeah, I think like you just said, for me, even on that rewatch switching gears in that second half is still very jarring
yeah.
to when we get Justin Long character, but I still applaud the filmmaking elements, man, and how they were able to be creative and really kind of keep the audience on his toes. But again, I just wish that it would have kept that same tone from the first half because it would have been like it would have been my number one if it would have kept that same energy throughout the entire film.
No, yeah, definitely. Like I do think that as well. Like it would have been number one
Give
for
me one
sure for
second. Let me
me.
check on my dog real quick. Keep
Yeah,
talking.
no,
I'll be
no
right back.
problem. So yeah, definitely Barbarian. That's why I put it at number two. I enjoyed everything about it. That first act is the strongest part for me, and definitely one that really made me enjoy it. But I can see the second act and third act taking people out for sure. Uh, yeah, so I was just saying, first act solid,
Yep.
strong,
Yep.
all of that, and seeing it in with a full like theater audience, like everybody just like gasping and
Thrill
just
ride.
waiting. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so came in at number two for me for that reason.
Gotcha.
And number one for me, I'm just gonna sound like Ty West fanatic, but Pearl went number one for
Nice.
me.
Nice.
uh, I think like that slow buildup of seeing like the Pearl we know from X, just
Mhm.
seeing everything she went through,
Mhm.
just like this descent into madness, um,
Right.
and that final like act of just seeing it and knowing that she was just gonna turn after that monologue, and that monologue definitely was one of the highlights of
Man.
2022 in my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, Pearl went number one for me for sure.
Hey, man, that's awesome, man. Pearl was a little bit lower on my list, but I can't deny, as you just mentioned, Mia Goth's performance, man. She is, and I don't want to box her into horror films, but
Mm,
she is so great in horror. Whether it's Suspiria, and I'm excited to see her in Infinity Pool,
yeah.
and other various projects she's been a part of. But she has a look to her. And
Yeah.
she has this screen presence to her, and I think she just fits so well in that genre. But yeah, for me, Pearl and her performance carries that film through and through. And I really enjoyed seeing, like you said, that her descending into madness and getting that backstory of where she kind of began in the origins. My only issues with Pearl is that I feel like no one else matched her energy as
Mhm.
far as that's such a great performance. Her mom was great, but everyone else was just kind of like, just there. And I really wanted to get, honestly, I wanted more of that explanation and that relationship between her and I can't think of her husband's name, but I thought we were going to explore that a little bit more because obviously, we see him in X and see how hard and crazy he
Yeah.
goes for his wife. But I would have loved to have seen that switch. Like, okay, when he gets home from being from the army, like, what is that conversation like after?
Yeah.
That's the only thing I wish I would explore a little bit more. But Mia, she was great. Ty West did a great job of just again switching the genre up. It wasn't a slasher like X. It was
Mhm.
a character study, and again it gets crazy. Becomes a slasher later on, but what I'm more excited for is this trilogy that we didn't
Yeah.
know we were going to get with X, Pearl, and Maxine coming out hopefully sometime this year. And man, I am excited to see what it all leads to, and we can get one of the best horror trilogies
Yeah.
in the last decade.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely crazy if they're able to release Maxine this year. Three movies in like less than 2 years is
Yeah,
crazy, and
unheard of.
but I could definitely see them trying to get that ready soon, especially like
Mhm.
all the buzz
Keep
that
that train,
Pearl
yeah, that
has
momentum, keep
going
it
on
going.
TikTok everywhere. I
Yep.
feel like I see a Pearl TikTok like every week at least.
Yeah, man, and just imagine when Maxine's gonna bring, with it apparently taking place in the 80s, there's gonna probably be a lot of, memes and, TikToks that people are gonna make, and I'm just hopeful that it sticks to landing, man. Because again, this is, shout out to her, man. I hate that the Oscars don't recognize horror
Yeah,
genres, because I think she's up there with, with Pearl's performance, up there with, like, a Toni Collette from Hereditary, or Emily
yeah,
Blunt from, Quiet Place, or Lupita Nyong'o and Us, man. It was like, and Elizabeth Moss from Invisible Man. It's
yeah,
like that type of performance to me. Kind of, it really stood out.
yeah. I agree. I definitely see her getting the Tony treatment. Like everybody was thinking it was gonna happen with
Mhm.
Hereditary, and then nah.
Yeah, yeah, not even a nomination.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Crazy, crazy.
All
But
right,
good top
so
three, man. Good top
yeah,
three.
yours as well. Top three. Yours were in my top 10 as well.
Yeah, man. Listen. This has been a ongoing train for horror. I would say in the last 5 or 7 years, with a Jordan Peele, a James Wan,
Hmm.
a Jennifer Kent, and Robert Eggers, Ari Aster. They're really, to me, pushing the envelope, and we're now getting back to slashers, which I mentioned up top is one of
Yeah,
my favorites in the genre of horror. So I'm looking forward to what 2023 brings, man. And we got one coming up this week, another a new horror film
yeah,
that hopefully can stick to landing. So horrors, it hasn't gone anywhere because it has these ups and downs, but I think we're in a really good spot as horror fans.
yeah. I think so. I think 2022 is just like the start of this like new wave we're getting.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
these like studios see you can make something low budget as
Yep.
long as you have good actors, good
Hmm.
effects, and good scares. So
Yes,
I'm
sir.
excited to see where we go.
Same here. Same here, man.
All right, so still with 2022, was there any movie you were like anticipating, excited for, and
Mm.
then it came around and it wasn't all there?
Oh man. So I'm just thinking back on my 2021 most anticipated for the following year. Well, number one for me was Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I'm a big fan of that franchise, a big fan of those characters, and I enjoyed Wakanda Forever. But for me, it didn't really stick the landing entirely in regards to, it did a lot of retconning of just the world that they had built in the first one. Wakanda as a nation to me seemed weaker in this new one, especially taking a backseat to Telecon and Namor. And personally, and not to get into the open up that can of worms, but I'm still not on the decision of not recasting T'Challa, because it is such a big character. But it's a whole, like I said, conversation with itself. But that one to me, and it wasn't a complete disappointment, because again, I enjoyed it. I thought Letitia Wright was
Mhm.
great, and Angela Bassett, give her an Oscar nomination for best supporting role. The visuals, I'm a big fan of Namor, so I enjoyed that. But to me, I just kind of missed the mark on what the first one built. So that kind of comes to mind. I'm trying to think. Oh, well, getting back to horror. Halloween 1978 is my favorite horror film of all time. I'm a big Michael Myers fan. It's my favorite slasher, favorite horror icon. Enjoy 2018's Halloween. Didn't really hate the Halloween kills as much as other people, but I can see the flaws and the disappointment there. But disappointment is an understatement for Halloween ends for me. Not a fan of that film at all. I can respect with Seth was going for with the Corey character, but it just completely sidelined Michael himself. I don't know
Mhm.
how you have cameo Michael Myers be essentially a cameo in his own film, and the Michael Laurie standoff saved the film for me, the third act, but that should have been the whole entire film. Or if you're going to have Corey, he should have been introduced in 2018, or at least in Halloween Kills. So that one was a huge disappointment, because I'm like, all this build up for 15
Yeah,
minutes. It was like, that hurt my heart.
yeah, especially considering all the marketing this movie had, and they were just pushing it so much, like this final confrontation.
Yep. Yep. Little did they know, a little character by the name of Corey Cunningham. He's like,
Yeah,
oh, you guys want to see that? Hold my beer. I'm gonna go ahead and take over this franchise in one
yeah,
form.
and I always say I think that story of Halloween Ends works as a good horror film, but
100%.
it's
Yeah.
definitely not as how it's marketed for
Yeah.
Halloween Ends.
Yeah, which I guess speaking of marketing, I should do with the that person did for Wednesday or yesterday trailer where he like sued them for not
Oh
having
yeah,
Ana de Armas. I should do that for Universal. Be like, you false advertisement for the Halloween Ends. You lied to us. I want to
I
sue
could
you
I
now.
could see some of that movement starting up probably.
I'm gonna start it tonight after this.
But yeah, with Black Panther as well, I agree with what you said. There's definitely like a lot of hype and anticipation for me,
Hmm.
but I do feel there was too much like buildup of these certain like themes and like characters,
Yeah,
and then when we got to the third act, I felt like we just rushed to that ending
third act
so
is
quick.
yeah. Yeah, the third act is rough, man. And I totally agree with you. The setup, it felt almost like an Age of Ultron treatment where they're trying to
Yeah,
build Ironheart, they're trying to build Valentina and Ross and the whole Thunderbolt storyline, and it just took away from a lot from focusing on. I mean,
yeah,
you can literally just have a movie about Wakanda, and it could be
yeah.
3 hours, which apparently they're going to do a show which hasn't been talked about for a couple of years. But yeah, it was a lot to be left for desire. But again, I know a lot of people love it. It's a lot of people's favorites of the year, and I respect that. But to me, it was a disappointment because I just hold it so high for me.
Yeah, I agree. The Ross scenes definitely. Anytime he came on, it just like took me out completely from
Yeah,
everything else.
yeah.
But yeah, um, for me, I had one in particular.
Mhm.
Looking forward to it ever since it got announced, and that was gonna be Hellraiser.
Oh, the remake or not remake, but the reimagining.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I was excited for that. I was a fan of the first two Hellraisers.
Hmm.
Seeing the other Hellraisers, they were okay.
Yeah.
So I was excited to hear they were going to do something different with it,
Hmm.
and especially coming off in the beginning of the year, middle of the year, with Hulu just releasing like good horror films. I
Right.
was like, all right, I have a lot of faith in this. But once I saw it, it was like not bad. I could
Hmm.
watch it. I didn't have to take it off or anything. But by the end of it, it was just like forgettable, and I didn't care to go back to that world at all.
So I enjoyed it up to a certain. There's some character stuff that didn't entirely work for me, but I actually had a fun time with it. So kind of in the same vein of reimaginings, but it was more of a sequel than anything. But like Candyman for me, that came out in
Mm,
2021, I believe. That to me was like a huge disappointment compared to I thought Hellraiser kind of stayed in form and it kind of really focused on what made the first one a classic. I'm more of a Hellraiser 2 fan than I am the original Hellraiser, but to
mhm.
me, this remake or reimagining kind of harken back to what made that first one so unique. The Cenobites and Pinhead,
Yeah.
and they were literally from you felt their presence in the first half, but then from the second on to the third, that was like they were the standouts for me. So I really appreciated them, at least the director, highlighting what made the franchise so popular, which is those fascinating, twisted, diabolical, disgusting, creatures from a different dimension. So
Yeah.
that to me is really what kind of made me appreciate for what they were going for. But as far as like the story was kind of like generic and the acting wasn't all that great. But
Yeah.
I did enjoy when the film did get to those levels of what were, the blood and the guts and the body horror. That to me is stuck the landing there.
Yeah, I agree. The characters, a lot of them just felt stale,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
story, like, you really didn't care that much. It was just like when the scares and everything was
Yeah.
happening.
Mhm.
But yeah, definitely. All right, so we talked 2022. Let's talk 2023.
Yeah,
What's
man.
like your five most anticipated?
Whew. So I do have a my video up now on the channel as far as my top 10, but as far as kind of some other ones that might have some honorable mentions. I'm very excited for a lot of the indie projects this year, but one in particular that comes to mind is going back to horror is Evil Dead Rise.
Oh yeah,
I'm a big fan of that franchise. I love Ash and that whole world. And man, I stand behind this. I'm an always believer of that 2013's Hellraiser or Evil Dead, the remake is one of the greatest remakes of all time. So I'm hoping
yeah,
that they can continue that momentum. And I know Sam Raimi and a lot of the people that originated that franchise are a part of this project. They're not Sam Raimi's not the director. I can't think of the director name, Joe something. He did a film called The Hold or Underground or something a couple years ago that was really cool. But I'm a fan of them being attached to it and having some input on it. And based on the little behind the scenes we've seen, some photos and stills. Hopefully, we'll get a trailer sooner rather than later. And the idea of it taking place in like a building in kind of a one location, which I love, which harkens back to the being at the cabin in the original. I'm really hopeful for the Evil Dead franchise because it seems like I hadn't watched the show, but I heard everyone that watched the show said it was a great show. So it seems like it's a franchise that has so much you can do with it, but for whatever reason, it's just not picking up. So I'm hoping that this can open the door for multiple sequels after this. So I'm hopefully, fingers crossed, Evil Dead Rise is a banger by the end of the year.
Yeah, I agree. The still photos we've gotten, it just looks really good. And when it was supposed to come out this year too, and then got pushed to next year.
Yeah.
So I was really looking forward to this year, but now my anticipation is growing more for it. Hopefully we get a trailer pretty soon for it as well. And
I would imagine. I think it comes out in April. So I would think we would get a trailer pretty soon. Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree. 2013's Evil Dead, really good.
Loved it. And I'm so mad that they never did it because I think there was a sequel in the works with because there's a post-credit, well, not a post-credit, there was a post-credit scene with Ash coming in and meeting Mia's character at the end there. So I would have loved it. And I love Fede Alvarez, who's working on Alien sequel or Alien reimagining. So I'm a big fan of his work. So I'm really, I was really hopeful that we got more from that. But yeah, that 2013, man, is one of my favorite remakes ever.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely was looking forward to whatever they were planning to do with Ash's character for that. And they just completely went silent on it. But hopefully we get something.
I hope so, man. I really do. But yeah, that's on my list. Another film that I read an article today that it said it got pushed back to next year, but it wasn't confirmed. But I'm a big David Fincher fan. He's one of the greatest directors in my eyes, and he has a new noir thriller starring some incredible actors with Michael Fassbender, who we haven't seen in quite a long time. I'm a big fan of his, and Tilda Swinton, and it's called The Killer, which is I think going to be a Netflix exclusive. They're going to probably have a small theatrical window like they did with Mank a couple years ago. They did with them, but yeah, man, black noir thriller. Michael Fassbender, Tilda Swinton, and David Fincher. Oh, it just sounds like amazingness just saying that out of my mouth. So I'm really looking forward to that one as well. So because David Fincher to me is just so detailed and meticulous, and he's a character focused director as well as the details. The devils are the details with his film. So I am here for it, man.
Yeah, I've been hearing about that movie. Saw those little stills they released with Michael Fassbender, and I agree. David Fincher's camera work, everything. Considering him going back to more of these like thrillers now, like Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Gone Girl, those type of feels. That's what I'm definitely getting with this movie. So I'm excited for it as well.
100%, man. 100%. So what is that? Two. Let me think of another one here. Going back, I guess I'll go back to horror. I am a big Insidious fan. I can admit Insidious 3 and 4 weren't that great, especially the last one, which I think was called The Last Key. But this time around, we got my man Patrick Wilson, who's making his directorial debut. But not only is he directing this film, he's going to be starring in it, but also he's going to be back with his old crew, or to say his cast members, the original family, Rose Byrne, Ty Simpkins, and the other younger brother. They're going to be back. So the first two Insidiouses were great to me, especially the first one. James Wan, so great in horror. So that is one, I believe it comes out in the summer too, like July 6th or 7th, which whenever there's a horror movie that like lands in the summer, to me that means it has confidence in the film. And a lot of James Wan films tend to come out in the summer just because they do feel like they have a great product on their hands. So again, I can acknowledge the last two haven't been that great, but I'm hopeful that Mr. Patrick Wilson took some notes from James Wan, working with him on the first two and working with him on Aquaman, and and him being a great actor himself and working with other great directors. Hopefully, he took some notes and can get back to old form of what the first two Insidious did, which is this great fear and tension and effective jump scares, and really dive into this whole supernatural element and building world building. So, Insidious, I believe it's subtitled Fear the Dark. So I am really hopeful that Insidious 5 can get back to old form.
Yeah, I agree. Patrick Wilson directing has me excited for this.
Mhm.
Just seeing what he's able to bring to the table. Yeah, the last two Insidious weren't all that great, but the first two are still strong enough for me to
Mhm.
go and see this movie. And like you said, a summer release for a horror means there's some confidence in
Yep.
it. So I'm
Mhm.
excited for that.
Yes, sir. So that's number three. I'll throw in another horror film, or at least I'm thinking it's a horror. And that is, what is it with Ari Aster?
Oh, the Bo is afraid.
Bo is Afraid. Yeah, thank you. Bo is Afraid. 'Cause I think it was called like something Disappointment Boulevard for a while. But yeah, Bo
Yeah.
is Afraid. And I said I think it's a horror because right now it's labeled under a comedy horror, which is very interesting considering that it's coming from Ari Aster, who we know to be, Hereditary, Midsummer, and then that I don't know if you've seen his short film. What is it? Something about Kevin, I think was the name of
Oh,
it.
the Johnsons.
The jo- oh my goodness, that's something I'll never watch again.
Yeah.
But he's that type of director. He gets under your skin, man. But Ari Aster, um, Joaquin Phoenix, and we got this whole situation. I think it's like a supernatural thing going on. He has like this weird relationship with his mother who recently passed, a la Hereditary.
Yeah.
And it's A24. So I mean, it checks all the boxes for me, man. I can't wait to see with that trailer and what kind of tone it gives us there. But it's I mean, honestly, I don't even need to see a trailer because, like I said, he has credit built up for me with his two first feature length films in Ari Aster. So I'm gonna be there opening night, and I'm just hopefully gonna get something on the same level, if not passing up his first two films. So Bo is Afraid is on my list, man.
Yeah, I agree. Whenever I first heard Ari Aster and Joaquin Phoenix teaming up, I was like, all right, there's something special going to be coming out
Yeah.
of this.
Yeah.
And yeah, like he definitely does know how to like give you these like scares that are just like slowly creeping up and you
Mhm.
still think about them leaving the theater.
I'll never. I was raised on horror. I probably shouldn't have watched as many horror films as I was as a kid, but I'm kind of desensitized towards horror
Mhm.
these days. Like it takes a lot to get under my skin. And Hereditary, man, is still one of the most, in my opinion, is one of the most scariest films that we've gotten in a very long time. Like you said, he builds to scares, he builds to tension. And that third act to me, man, it still gives me nightmares thinking about Toni Collette hiding in the corners and running around the house, and that's wicked imagery of her, cutting her own head off, and then so many chills thinking of that film. But hopefully we can get that with this comedy horror with Joaquin
Yeah.
Phoenix and Ari.
Yeah, I agree. Hereditary, especially like you said, the third act, and you're just like seeing things as your eyes adjust to the shadows and everything, and you're just like, I did not see that at all.
Not at all, man. Not at all. So that's my fourth one, and then I'll just share my number one, which I did on my video, which you all can check out. Which Denis Villeneuve is my favorite director working in Hollywood. And Dune Part 2 is my number one most anticipated film of 2023, coming out this November. I mean, where to begin? We got most of the first cast, or most of the first one, the cast coming back to Chalamet. It's Paul Atreides, and we got Zendaya coming back. She's going to have much of a bigger role this time around, and of course, we're getting everything with the Fremens and Paul becoming the savior, but then the new additions of Florence Pugh as the princess, and Austin Butler as the cousin of the as the Harkonnens, and I think Louis Sadu is a part of the cast, and Christopher Walken as the Emperor. Come on, so I'm really excited to go back to that whole world that they built in the first one. I'm a big, horror is my number one genre, and under that is sci-fi for me. So I love a good sci-fi, and if it wasn't for Dune, there will be no Star Wars, there would be no Star Trek. They took a lot of inspirations from that novel that came out way back when, and yeah, man, I can't wait to go back to the sand. I can't wait to go back to that whole world and live in it. And I think for everything Denise said, it's bigger in every way possible. So Dune Part 2, man, can't wait.
No, I agree. D&D does such beautiful like visuals, blockbusters, but at the same time, he still very much so cares about these characters. They don't feel flat or anything like that. So I'm excited for that as well. Just seeing what he did with the first one, and if he's promising bigger, then I'm excited for that.
Yeah, man, I love Denis, man. His last 4 films alone, Arrival, Blade Runner 2049, Dune, and then following up. He's. I love Christopher Nolan, but he's like the Christopher Nolan times 10 to me because he just takes it to the next level, man. And I love, like I said, I love Christopher Nolan. He's been Oppenheimer is one of my favorites too. I'm looking
Mhm.
forward to. But yeah, man, Denis Villeneuve is just clicking on another level for me.
No, yeah, I agree. Definitely, like it's just the way that like his like shots and everything, how he sets them up. And Blade Runner 2049 still like holds up today, I think.
It's one of my favorite science fiction films ever, and it's one of the few sequels that I enjoy more than the first one. So I
Yeah, I agree.
love that world.
Yeah,
So,
solid list. A lot of those were on my list as well.
yeah, man, and that's only that's the 5 out of 50 other great films that I'm looking and excited for. I'm a big Marvel fan, so of course all the stuff coming from Ant-Man and Guardians 3 and the Marvels, and then DC all day. Shazam, Flash finally coming out, hopefully.
Yeah,
Aquaman, Blue Beetle, so Creed 3. I mean, there's so many, man. There's so many things to look forward to this year.
yeah, there really is. Flash, like you said, that's one of my most anticipated because we've been hearing for so long it's so good, and then for every other reason gets pushed, whether it's Ezra, DC themselves.
Yeah,
So that one's definitely one that I'm just like, I just want to see it already. Like,
right, right.
what do we have here? Yeah, but also I think Mission Impossible.
Oh
I'm
yeah, that was on
excited
my
to see what
list.
that's going to be,
Mm-hmm.
especially after seeing what Tom Cruise brings to the table after Top Gun.
Man. And I think, and honestly, too, man, I think all that good grace that he built with that film at 1.4 billion. I think a lot of people who might have just like, it's just another Tom Cruise movie. I think he's built so much goodwill with that Top Gun sequel that I think a lot of those people that might have, been interested in Mission Impossible, but maybe not have ran to the theaters to see. I think it's gonna carry over to this one, and it's one of the few franchises, in my opinion, that's gotten better each film. From starting off as a good spy espionage film with the first one, the first two, and then JJ comes in the third one, and then once Christopher McQuarrie got his hands on that with the fourth one, and from there on out, it's him and Tom Cruise have been clicking on another level.
No, I agree. I'm just like excited to see whatever he brings to the table, and then
Mm-hmm.
a little teaser he did, jumping off. He knows how to get people to come look at these
Oh, man.
spectacles.
And if they're showing us that, you can only imagine what else is left in the film.
Yeah, I agree.
It's crazy. It's crazy, man.
And then Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, another one that's
Good pick.
on my top list there for sure. And I'm excited for the new Transformers. It's always a hit or miss with me with them,
Yeah.
but it's like guilty pleasure for me. I got to go see
Yeah.
what they got.
Right.
I like Bumblebee,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Yeah.
so like I'm just ready to see like if they follow the same formula as they did with that one. I think it could be good, but I'm still a little hesitant about it as well.
No, I agree. And Stephen Cable Jr. directing this one, the director of Creed 2, gives me hope because very similar to like a Travis Knight who directed Bumblebee, someone that's not in that same lane as a Michael Bay, someone that has their own ideas and have their
Yeah,
own creative sensibility. So I'm hopeful, because again, Transformers, one thing they can do, they can cut a good trailer, but
that's true.
sometimes they don't always play out well. But I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful for this new one, and I grew up watching Beast Wars, so I'm excited to see all those characters.
Yeah, same. And then new Martin Scorsese, Killers of Flower Moon.
Yeah, man. Yes.
Like I read about what the material's about, that
Mhm.
one picture we have, and
Mhm.
the book. So I'm excited to see what they're gonna cook up and stacked. Like this year's full of a lot of movies with stacked cast as well. Oppenheimer.
Leo, Robert
Yeah,
De Niro, Brendan Fraser. Jesse Plemons. It's a stat cast. Yeah, man. I'm excited with that. Martin Scorsese is one of my favorite directors, so that was definitely on my top 10 list for sure.
Yeah, then for me, the other one has to be, even though how Halloween Ends was and everything, David Gordon Green coming with The Exorcist this year.
Yeah, yeah. It's a sequel too, right? To the
Yeah.
back one.
So I'm a little on the fence about it, but I'm just
Mhm.
excited to see what they want to do with this story, if they're doing a sequel to the original and all of that.
Yeah.
So went up there.
He's gonna create a whole new character like
Yeah.
Corey Cunningham and muck it up.
Whole new demon.
Right.
All right. So we could honestly like name like 100 movies, I think, for 2023.
Yeah, it's
Um,
crazy. On top of
but
that, on top of shows, there's a
yeah,
billion new great shows that are returning or starting up, or it's gonna be hopefully it's gonna be a great year. Starting off with hopefully later this week with Megan.
yeah. So let's talk about Megan. What
Yeah.
are you thinking?
I'm here for it. I listen from the first trailer. I knew it was. It was just like this is it. This is campy. It's cheesy. It's over the top. But every now and then you got to get those in your system, man. And I think that this is, it's a Blumhouse produced film, so it's going to be, it's going to make a bunch of its money back at the box office. But I truly do think that it's not that it's going to be winning the Oscars or
Yeah,
being, the best of the best of the horror. But I think this is going to be a fun way to kick off this hopefully great year of cinema. But yeah, man, it's just the trailer, the dance, obviously, the meme
yeah,
of her dancing. Again, if they're showing us that in the trailer, and apparently there are other dance sequences in the film, which is going to be hilarious. But no, I'm a big fan of the doll genre in horror, whether it's Chucky or Annabelle or other various different dolls we've seen from either Goosebumps growing up as a
hmm,
kid or Tales from the Hood, stuff like that. So I always love those type of toy possessed doll stories. So I'm hopeful that it's good, and I think the secret sauce is Allison Williams, who's going to play, I believe, the auntie of the little girl. She's pretty good in horror.
yeah.
Get Out. There was another Netflix film that she was in that was super weird. It was like about these two, her and this other girl like competing in some orchestra. I can't remember the name of it, but it was like super weird. But she
Mm.
tends to pick some good horror films, so I'm hopeful that she's picked a good project with this one. And I'm excited, man. I'm looking forward to seeing all those dance moves.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited as well. When we got that first trailer, I just knew that they know what they're doing. They
Yeah.
know that how they want to be taken,
Yep.
and same people behind *Malignant* as well. So I just know there's
Oh, I didn't
going to
know that.
be,
Nice.
yeah, it's
Okay.
same
Okay.
writer. So I just
Okay.
know they're going to go crazy
Super,
left
super
field
over
with
the
it.
top. Yeah,
Yeah,
man. Malignant was one of my favorites of 2021 too. It was just so fun. The
yeah,
Perfectionist. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that was the name of it. Yep.
yeah. So I'm excited to check it out, and I think it's like honestly the best way to start 2023 with this
Hmm.
movie.
I agree. I agree. Are you seeing an opening night?
I think I might see it on Wednesday, actually. I think they're
Mhm.
having a
Oh, right,
screening
right,
around
right,
here,
right. Yep. 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 Yep.
and I know my younger sibling wants to see it, so I'll probably see it opening night as well.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, man.
Like,
I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. And it could, hey, we're in the business of sequels, man, franchises. I wouldn't be surprised if there's again with Blumhouse, $20 million budget and it ended up making, 30 or 40 its opening weekend, then, they already made up their budget. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's other ideas of Megan because she's an AI. Just because you destroy
yeah,
the first model doesn't mean her conscious or her data couldn't be transferred to another doll for future films. And, you got to get the crossover with Chucky or Annabelle eventually.
yeah, yeah. I saw they had a little like back and forth with
They
Chucky on
did on
Twitter,
Twitter. Yeah, that was funny,
so
man. You got to make that crossover happen now and
I
settle
can
the
see
beef.
that. Especially like I feel like it'll do good at the box office. A lot of my
Mhm.
family members that don't really go out to the movies and stuff were talking
Yeah.
about it over the holidays, so
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm pretty sure it'll be good. So I'm
Yeah,
excited to
and
see how
it's a
it
good
does.
counterproduction with Avatar still kicking ass at the box office. So if someone wants to have a different, flavor, because there's really not a ton of stuff out right now besides Avatar, then I think it's gonna definitely have a lot of people that's gonna bleed over to make it.
Yeah, I agree. Well, it was good talking with you.
Yeah,
Went
man.
over like 50 minutes almost. Definitely got to do it again.
Mhm.
Uh,
100%.
talk about some other stuff when we get a chance to watch it, review it, all that. So yeah, just you want to let everybody know where they can find you and all that.
Yeah. Again, man, thank you so much for having me on. Keep doing your thing here, man. You're doing some great stuff with your, again, very similar to me, a variety of different stuff you cover from TV shows to movies, horror, action. So keep it up, man. And again, thank you again for having me on. And you guys can find me here on YouTube, again, talking about similar content, whether it's Marvel, DC, horror, comedy, independent films, blockbusters, TV shows as well, various different discussions on TV shows. And this year we're kicking off with, like we just discussed, Megan coming out to review later this week. And this month we have other things such as, I'm a big Servant fan, M. Night Shyamalan, the
Servant.
final season of Servant. I'll be covering that on a weekly basis coming up next week. And The Last of Us, that's a big one coming out this
Yeah.
month. So it's a pretty good way to start off the year. So definitely check me out. And again, man, thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, and definitely got to do this again.
100%.
All right. Have a good night.